Hey everyone, it's Aran. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making pizza. Starting off by adding 2 cups of all-purpose flour and a teaspoon of salt to a large bowl. And then separately I'm adding 3 teaspoons of active dry yeast and a teaspoon of sugar to a cup of lukewarm water. Then I'm just going to mix this slightly until the yeast dissolves. And about 5 minutes later it should look like this. Then add it to your large bowl with the flour along with 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. And then just mix it until it's slightly combined. I'm going to transfer it to a flat surface that's been floured, and then just knead the dough like this. I made the dumb mistake of deciding to make pizza the day after I got my vaccine, so I'm kind of struggling right now. So one of my favorite types of pizza is actually Korean sweet potato pizza, so I'm going to try to recreate it today. I'm also going to be doing a mushroom, hot salami, and olive pizza too. My dough came out a little bit sticky, so I'm just adding more flour. Once it comes together in a nice round elastic ball, you can add it back to the large bowl and add some more olive oil, and then let it sit for about an hour. Now it's time to prep the pizza toppings. I'm going to steam about 2 sweet potatoes, one for this dish and one for my dogs. And then I'm going to prep the other toppings like olives, bacon, and I forgot to record this, but I also cut up some mushrooms as well. About 35 minutes later, the sweet potatoes should be ready. I recommend waiting until they're cool to peel them because I almost burned my fingers off. Now in a separate bowl, I'm going to mash the sweet potato and add about 2 teaspoons of sugar and a tablespoon of heavy cream. Mix everything together and your mousse is ready. Once your dough's ready, punch it down. You need to do this once, but I had a bad week, so I did it twice. Now I'm transferring it to a flat surface, and I'm just going to knead it again slightly and divide it into 2 balls. So this recipe can make up to 2 pizzas, but you can also just make one really large deep dish if you'd like. So I'm oiling the bottom of my first pizza pan. This will help make the crust really crispy. Once again, I'm kneading out the dough and just rolling it really thin. I'm definitely no pro and I have no confidence in tossing this up in the air, so please forgive my lame attempt. Transfer your dough to the pizza pan and make sure the dough is spread out evenly and thin. Now I'm adding some tomato sauce on top. This one's just from the store, but you can make it yourself if you want to be ambitious. And then I'm generously topping it with a bunch of cheese. I love cheese. Now it's time to transfer the sweet potato mousse into a ziploc bag. Just cutting off the tip so that it's easy to pipe. You can do any type of design you'd like, but I'm doing 2 circles. And topping it with some bacon. Now moving on to the second pizza. I'm just repeating the same exact steps. Except this time I'm topping it with some hot Italian salami, button mushrooms, and olives. I also added some dried parsley on top. You can really do any combination you like, but this is just one of my favorites. I'm baking them at 450 degrees for about 10 to 15 minutes until the crust is golden brown. Guys, this came out so good. 10 out of 10 recommend. Now moving on, I'm going to be making some Korean side dishes. So I'm starting off with some shredded radish kimchi. I'm just going to be cutting the ends off of 1 large daikon radish and then peeling the skin off. Cut it in half, and this one was being particularly difficult and I almost chopped my fingers off, so make sure not to do that. Oh my god. And then I'm using a needle incisor, but you can also just cut the radish into matchsticks if you don't have one. And it should look like this. My dog really likes radish, so he came to retrieve one and then he ran away. So to season the radish, you're going to mix 1 teaspoon of salt and sugar and then just pour it over the radish and let it sit for about 20 minutes. It's going to help get rid of some of the moisture. In the meanwhile, I'm dicing 3 green onions, which I'm going to use later. And then 20 minutes later, you might notice all the moisture coming out, so you're going to drain your radish. And then add 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, 3 tablespoons of red pepper flakes, and 3 tablespoons of plum vinegar. If you don't have this, it's fine, you can just use regular white vinegar. And I also added a teaspoon of sugar, but I forgot to add that. And then I'm adding back the green onions and just mixing everything together. And then I like to add some sesame seeds as well. And then you're done. It's super easy and you can do a taste test. And then just seal it in an airtight container and you can eat it for up to, I would say 3 to 4, maybe 3 weeks. But it's best eaten fresh. Okay, now moving on to the next one, I'm going to be making pickled radish. And you just have to prep the daikon the exact same way, except this time we're going to cut it into bite-sized cubes. And if you're a fan of Korean fried chicken, you've definitely seen this before. They always serve it as a side dish and they're classically eaten together. So it's literally called chikimu or chicken radish in Korean. So for the brine, I'm going to boil 2 cups of water, a cup of white vinegar, and a cup of sugar. And then let it just come to a boil. And once you can tell everything's dissolved, then you're just going to pour it over the radish. And then that's it. All you have to do is let it sit in the fridge for about 3 days and then you can eat it. For lunch today, I'm going to be making omurice, which is basically fried rice with an egg omelet on top. So I'm starting off by cutting some vegetables, and I'm using button mushrooms, green onions, and spam, but you can also use zucchini, sausage, bacon, carrot, whatever combination you'd like. Just make sure to chop everything into bite-sized pieces so that you can get everything in one bite. Now in a hot pan, I'm adding the green onions first to get some fragrance out of them. And then I'm going to add the rest of the vegetables and spam as well. And I'm just going to keep sauteing it for about 5 minutes until the onions are completely translucent. Then you can add a big bowl of rice. It's best if it's not completely fresh and it's like a day old. And then I'm adding about a tablespoon of oyster sauce. This really depends on how much rice and like the portion size you do, so you can just taste it as you go. And then I'm adding about a tablespoon and a half of ketchup. And then just mix it until the rice is evenly coated and set it aside. Now in a separate bowl, I'm going to crack 2 eggs with some salt and just whisk it. I like using chopsticks, but obviously you can use a fork. Now in an oiled pan, I'm going to add the egg mixture and just put the lid on and then turn down the heat and let it cook for a few minutes. I'm using this plate with a slight dip in the center, and I'm just going to shape my rice into a dome. covering it with the egg omelet and making sure that none of the rice is exposed. And then I'm going to top it with some ketchup. This step is totally optional, but I'm drawing a cute design. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what other recipes you'd like to see, and see you in next week's video. Bye!